Thank you, Dr. Meyer. And good morning to everybody. How's everybody doing this morning? Is everybody still a little tired from last night? A little bit? Did you have fun? Good, good. We're going to have a great time for the next few days as well. And it's my pleasure to be here. I've spoken at many of your schools, but I'm also happy to speak to all of you here today in my hometown of Eastchester. So I want to talk to you today about purpose. So what is purpose? Purpose is something that gets you up in the morning. Purpose is something that excites you, something that has meaning for you, something that you can take and use in your life and make that your life's mission. And you know what happens when you do things with purpose? You have fun, you enjoy yourself. So I want to do an exercise with all of you now. I want to ask you all to please close your eyes. And I want you to think about what matters to you. What do you love to do? Who are the people that you love? First think of the people that you love, your family, your friends. Then think about what you love at school, maybe what subjects you like at school. Do you like math? Do you like the arts? Do you like science? And then think of the other things that make you happy outside of school. Do you love to dance or sing? Do you love to play a sport? Do you love to help people? And if so, how do you like to help people? And I want you to think over the next few minutes while I'm speaking about all these things that matter to you. And everybody's going to have a different answer. Everybody's going to have different things that matter to them. But purpose is when you find these things that matter to you and you apply them to your life, you will benefit tremendously from this. So you can open your eyes now. And I want to tell you a little bit about my story. So when I was your age, and even younger, my dream was to be a writer. I always loved to write. My father, who many of you saw last night, he presented that award last night. 92 years old. His purpose was to be a professor. He loved it. For 60 years he was a professor. So because he was at Fordham Law School, we got to go to the school tuition free. Now, for those of you not in the United States, that's a big deal. I'm now paying my son's tuition bill at Tufts University. I know what it's like to go tuition free to school. So when it was time to go to college, I was trying to figure out what to do. And like I said, I always loved to write. So when I was your age, I would write for my school newspaper. I would write for my church newsletter. I would always love to write. And that's the lesson that I want to tell you first. If there's something you love to do, do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it. Don't let anyone tell you that there are obstacles out there. Find a way to do what you love. If you love to do a sport, do it. If you don't get on the team you want, find another team. Do it recreationally. If you like the arts, go perform. Just get involved with whatever it is that you want to do. And again, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, because you can surprise them. You have it in you to come out of that and to make that dream of yours happen. So what happened was I kept writing, and I went and wrote for the college newspaper, and then it was time, like I said, to go to college. And then when I was in college, I went to law school. I wasn't sure what to do. I applied to Columbia University Journalism School. I was thinking of maybe going there, becoming a reporter, but I ended up going to law school. And I had a teacher who inspired me. She was my aunt. She was my father's sister. She was the National Teacher of the Year. And she was the one that guided me. So she would always tell me, Nick, never forget about your writing. Never forget about what you love and what you want. There's a line in the second Loukoumi book, Growing Up with Loukoumi, called Believe in Yourself and Dreams Come True. Those were from her. She was my aunt who inspired me. She said, believe in yourself, follow your writing, never give up. Unfortunately, she passed away when I was in law school, but those words still ring in my ears, and that's what you should remember too. Never give up. Always follow your dreams. Believe in yourself, and you'll be amazed where that path is going to take you. You know, if someone told me 20, 30, 40 years ago that I would be running a foundation about a series of children's books about a fluffy little lamb named Loukoumi, I would have said they were crazy. You just never know where the path is going to take you. So I went to law school, and then when I got out, I worked for a judge for 2 years. It was a great experience. We got to travel to courthouses all over the United States. And I was so inspired by what was happening there in the courtroom on a daily basis. You know, you think this stuff only happens on TV, but I can tell you, in the courts, this stuff happens on a daily basis. We were there watching murder trials, arson trials, organized crime trials, all this criminal stuff that you can't believe really happens, but it does happen on a daily basis. So what happened was, after the 2-year term, I left, and I was inspired to write a book. So I didn't tell anyone what I was doing, and I went down to Florida. I rented an apartment for a month, and everybody thought I was going to just be hanging out at the beach for a month. But what I did was I brought my laptop, and I wrote for 10, 12, 14 hours a day. I came back to New York after that month with a 400-page first draft of a book called Crimes of Fire. It was a legal thriller novel. So I came back to New York. I thought I was going to be the next John Grisham, the next best-selling author overnight. Obviously, that never happened. We had some fun. We did some Barnes & Noble book signings. But it didn't happen. So what I did was I went back to what I knew. I went back to my legal career. And then, as I mentioned last night, the story of Loukoumi just came out of nowhere. It was meant to be, because 20 years ago, when someone brought us back a box of Loukoumi candy from Greece, as I mentioned, we just joked around. I joked around with my wife in the kitchen. I said, wouldn't that make a cute name for a children's book character? And we came, what kind of character would it be? Because of the fluffy lamb, the powdered white sugar on the candy, we came up with a fluffy lamb named Loukoumi. And as I mentioned, I wrote that book for my son. I self-published it. Again, people are like, why are you writing a book about a lamb? You know, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to. I wanted to do it. I want to do it for myself and for my son. And again, there's the lesson. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with your life. Do what you want to do. Explore what you want to do. Find your purpose. And then you never know where that's going to go, right? So when the first book came out, and I told you the New York Times wrote that article, again, people are like, why are you sending a copy of this self-published book to the New York Times? I said, why not, right? So I did, and they wrote an article, and the book, as I mentioned, hit number 4 on the Barnes & Noble children's book bestseller list. So I was then energized. So I wanted to then write a second book. My dream of becoming a writer came true. So I wanted to then encourage other children to follow their dreams. So the second book, as I mentioned, Growing Up with Loukoumi, is about your career dreams. Now think about your career dreams. I bet all of you have something that you really want to do, right? And we have a program at the Loukoumi Foundation called Dream Day, where we make career dreams come true for a day. And back in 2008, when we released the book, our first Dream Day winner wanted to be a Mars rover engineer. I didn't even know what that was. Did any of you know what that is? I didn't even know what that was. I saw a couple of hands. Right? So that's someone that goes to the planet Mars and drives the rovers around the planet Mars. Really out of the box, right? But this girl, everybody was telling her it can't be done, you know. So here she was. She applied for our contest, and our entire judging panel fell in love with little Sophie. 9 years old, she was a Great Neck, Long Island. So I was starting to panic because I'm like, how am I going to make this dream day come true? It's the first one we ever did. So I called NASA, who lands the spaceships here in the United States. And I called them up and I said, we have this great girl. She wants to be a rover engineer. What can you do for us? And they said, we are landing a spaceship on the planet Mars, Memorial Day weekend of 2008, the year 2008. Bring her to mission control at our Jet Propulsion Lab, and she can watch the Phoenix spaceship land on the planet Mars. It was unbelievable. Now, I couldn't even believe it, and it almost didn't happen because this guy who promised this to me didn't have authority, but it all worked out, and little Sophie was in mission control, and you could see the smile on her face, and she believed in herself. Other people didn't believe in her or what she wanted to do because they thought it was crazy. Like, you really want to go to Mars? It's such a hard thing. You know, that's the other thing. Don't let people tell you how difficult something is. If you want to be an actor or a sports player or something, let's say you want to be an actor, right? Okay, it is hard. There's no doubt about it. It's hard. But if you don't follow that path, you don't follow your purpose, you don't follow that meaning, something that means something to you, you'll regret it. Because you never know where that path is going to take you, like my path with Loukoumi. Loukoumi, you never know where that path is going to take you. Because you could be wanting to be an actor, right? And along the way, you may decide that you want to be a movie producer, or a screenwriter, or or a makeup artist, or anything in that field. We have a young boy who we made his dream day come true with the New York Giants 10 years ago. He wanted to be a quarterback for the New York Giants. He realized it's tough, but he tried, right? He just graduated from college. He's working for the National Football League as a movie editor for the National Football League. So he's in that field, and he's still doing something that he loves. He may not be the starting quarterback, but he's in that field around the world that he loves. So remember that purpose, okay? So the years went on, and I started writing more and more Loukoumi books. I told you about Loukoumi's Good Deeds with Jennifer Aniston, and so that happened when I was at NASA, and I had lunch with her father, and her father said, "This is really cool what you're doing here. I would love to be part of this Loukoumi project in some way." So that was my 1 minute to ask, and this is the next lesson. Don't be afraid to ask for things. People will want to help you. So here I had somebody, Jennifer Aniston, one of the biggest stars on the planet. I was having lunch with her dad, who was a soap opera actor at the time. And he said he wanted to help. So I said, you know what? He wants to help. I said, John, why don't you and your daughter Jennifer narrate the next Loukoumi book on CD? Back then there were CDs. You kids probably don't even know what CDs are. But a CD is like, it's kind of like it's music that you used to have to put into a player. So sure enough, a couple of weeks go by, and I'm driving home from my legal job at the time in New York City, and the cell phone rings, and it was John Aniston. And he said, Jen, you do it. And I almost drove off the road. I couldn't believe that Jennifer Aniston was going to narrate my Loukoumi book. So I went out there, we released Loukoumi's Good Deeds. That turned into the Good Deed programming. It turned into the foundation. We then had our anti-bullying book it led to with Morgan Freeman. And again, funny story, we had a Loukoumi cookbook that many of you may have. And we had celebrities giving us recipes, right? So I just asked everybody. Once you start asking, like I said, you never know. The only thing you can get is a no, right? So you guys know Reese Witherspoon, the actress? So Reese Witherspoon, I emailed her publicist 13 times. Some may call it annoying. I call it, until I get a no, I'm going to keep asking. So I kept asking, and then finally Reese Witherspoon's publicist said, Nick, I'm so sorry for not getting back to you, but we will give you the recipe and everything. They apologized just because of how busy they were. But Morgan Freeman is another actor that I reached out to. And he sends me a recipe for the book, and I was so excited. Do you guys know Morgan Freeman? I was so excited when he sent me a recipe for roast leg of lamb. Yeah, okay. Some people think Loukoumi's a bear or something, they don't get it. But so I didn't know what I was going to do. So I called up his publicist. I waited like 2 days. I called up his publicist and I say, I'm so sorry. We love the recipe. I'm going to use it at home at Easter time, but I can't put it in the book. And his publicist says, why not? It's going to be an egg. And I said, you do realize Loukoumi's a lamb. She laughed so hard she dropped the phone. He then ended up giving us another recipe, but then a couple months later, I needed a voice for our Loukoumi in the Schoolyard bully, and Morgan Freeman has that great voice, so I asked him to be the voice of the bully, and he's the voice of our Loukoumi in the Schoolyard bully. So again, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid of embarrassing yourself, because the risk reward is tremendous, and what you can accomplish with your life if you ask people and you're not afraid is tremendous. Okay? I went back to my legal career for 20 years. 28 years, I was general counsel of a company in New York City. And Loukoumi continued to grow. I started to visit some of your schools. I started to meet all of you. I loved what I was doing. And I was kind of torn because I had this legal job, which was good. I liked it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my passion. This is my passion. And I decided to follow this because a friend of mine came to me 3 years ago and said, Nick, he goes, I left my job. He was very successful guy at a hedge fund in New York City, BlackRock, a big company here. And I said, why are you leaving? And he said, you know, Nick, he goes, you get to a point in your life where if you're lucky, You have one good act left, and you want to do something else. And those words haunted me for about 3 months. And because I knew what I wanted to do, I just wasn't ready, or maybe a little afraid, just wasn't ready to make that step to do this full time. I did make that step. I left a little over 2 years ago, and I've never been happier in my professional life. Never been happier. Seeing all of you here this week, sharing this experience with all of you, visiting your schools, this is my purpose. This is what I was meant to do. A friend of mine said, he sees all the pictures on social media, he goes, you're doing what you were meant to do. And all of you here have something in you that you were meant to do. So, I want to ask you this before I give up the stage. I want you to think, not just today, but in the days after, even when you go back to your cities next week, you go back to your schools, think about what it is that you love and how you can make that your purpose in life. Because I guarantee you, you'll be happier for the rest of your life. So, thank you all. Great to see you, and now we're going to get started with our first class.